The champagne flutes had just clinked when Gregory stood up and ruined everything. Bianca, I've decided to start a new life without you. The words didn't just land, they detonated. In front of 50 people, including our daughter Amelia in her graduation gown, our colleagues, our extended family, and the waiter mid-pour with Dom Perignon in one hand. I was still smiling when the hush fell over the room. And I kept smiling as my husband of 28 years announced the end of our marriage like it was a corporate memo. My name is Bianca Caldwell. I'm 54, VP of Marketing Strategy at Solus Biotech, born and raised in Seattle, and for the last 3 decades, I've been everything. Wife, mother, support system, therapist, life planner, to the man now standing across the table looking as smug as ever. We were here to celebrate Amelia's graduation from Stanford. A milestone I paid for, organized, planned, and dressed up for, and now, apparently, it doubled as my farewell party. But here's the part no one expected. I didn't flinch. I looked at Gregory and raised my glass. Well, cheers to your honesty, I said, my voice calm, even amused. You finally said it in front of people. What a relief. They didn't know what I meant. Not yet, but they would. Because unlike him, I'd been playing the long game. I let my eyes sweep across the room. Gregory's boss, his business partner, the family attorney, even his mother. Yes, all present. Exactly as I planned. I'd spent months baiting him into revealing himself. All I needed was for him to break first. And now that he had, the trap had been triggered, but rewind, just a little. 5 months ago, I found a receipt for a lingerie boutique in New York. The charge was under his name, shipped to a hotel suite, dated the weekend he claimed to be at a leadership retreat. I didn't confront him. I just took notes. I started tracking his travel, hired a private investigator, created a burner email account. And I smiled through dinner dates, packed his bags, even ironed the shirts he wore to meet her. Because when a man cheats this loudly, you don't scream, you document. And when you've built his reputation, managed his social connections, helped him through his bankrupt first startup, you don't cry, you calculate. What Gregory didn't know was that I had full access to our joint finances, that I'd quietly moved key assets into my name under the guise of family tax restructuring, that I'd been slowly consolidating power, personal and financial, for months. He thought he was the puppet master. But tonight, I'd let him perform on stage, and soon, I'd pull the curtain. Why now, Gregory? I asked sweetly, watching his face tighten. He blinked. He wasn't expecting me to talk. Certainly not with poise. I didn't want to hurt you, he lied. I just need to find myself. Find himself? He'd been trying to find himself in younger women for years. I saw Amelia's hands clench in her lap. Her eyes flicked between us, already brimming with confusion and pain. Poor thing. She adored her father. Didn't see what I saw, what I had tried to shield her from for years. But that protection ends tonight. Amelia, I said gently, whatever happens, I want you to remember this. People show you who they are when they think they can get away with it. She swallowed. What are you talking about? Gregory snapped. This is not the time, Bianca. Oh, I think it's exactly the time. The waiter, sensing the tension, began to back away from the table. I turned to the room. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, I began, standing now. But since Gregory has made such a public declaration of independence, I think you all deserve some clarity. My voice didn't waver. If anything, I enjoyed the silence that followed. Gregory's been sleeping with someone from work, I said, pausing to let that sink in. And not just once, not just one woman. There was a faint gasp. Did you think you were discreet, darling? I tilted my head. You used our Amex for the lingerie? She wears red, doesn't she? With black trim? Gregory's face drained of color. And the suite at the Mercer? I added. Very classy. I almost booked the same one for our anniversary. Someone choked on their drink. Bianca, enough, he hissed, stepping forward. But I held up a hand. No, you made this public. Let's stay public. People stared. Phones began slipping out of pockets, ready to record. And then I said the thing that made him sweat. I have proof. Every room went still. Proof? Of what? How much did I know? Was it just the affairs or something more? I let the suspense stretch. Because the real bombshell? I hadn't even dropped it yet. The one that would rip the floor out from under him. The reason I wasn't crying, begging, or throwing wine in his face. The reason why he'd soon be the one screaming. And that reason? Well, that's coming next. Gregory's hands were trembling. A first. I'd seen this man navigate multi-million-dollar negotiations, charm foreign investors in 3 languages, and lie straight to my face about where he was every Thursday night for the past year. But now, here, with 50 pairs of eyes on him and my words circling like vultures, he was breaking. He tried to recover, of course. "This is wildly inappropriate," he barked, his voice sharp, but a little too high. "This is our daughter's graduation." That line, "our daughter's," was meant to guilt me, to imply I was ruining her day. But he already had, and Amelia knew it. She sat in stunned silence, cheeks flushed, trying to process the grenade he just tossed into her life. Her eyes flicked toward me for answers. I gave her none, not yet. Because this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about exposure. "Gregory, darling," I said softly, "would you like to tell everyone who she is, or should I?" He didn't answer. His silence screamed. So I answered for him. "Her name's Kendra," I said. "She's 29, blonde, assistant to the regional sales director, or was until she got promoted after a rather passionate performance review in the W Hotel downtown." More gasps. The air was thick now, thick with scandal, heat, and curiosity. I could almost taste it. "And the other one," I continued, voice steady, "the brunette from accounting. You remember her, right? The one who left suddenly in March? She didn't just move to Denver. She left when she found out about Kendra." Gregory looked like he was choking on air. I turned to the guests. "But don't worry. He's not just reckless. He's thorough." There were at least 3 others. I have emails, screenshots, voice notes, all lovingly saved and time-stamped. Again, I paused. Because the best drama isn't screamed, it's whispered with a smile. But the truly beautiful part was that Kendra, the favorite, was here tonight. I'd invited her myself, said I was throwing a surprise for Gregory, told her to wear something red. She was standing near the back, in a cherry silk wrap dress, her mouth parted in horror, mascara starting to run. She looked like she wanted to disappear into the carpet. But I wasn't done. Because this wasn't just about affairs. It was about power. You see, Gregory never saw me as dangerous. I was the wife. I ran his calendar, edited his speeches, picked out his damn ties. He thought that meant I was weak. But the longer you're underestimated, the more deadly you become, especially when no one's watching what you do with the money. Over the past year, while Gregory was too busy screwing his way through our company staff, I was rerouting our investments, setting up shell companies, gaining quiet control over the very firm he believed he owned. He thought I was still that woman who made pasta from scratch every Sunday, the woman who kept his mother happy and his shirts pressed. But I had changed. The moment I saw that receipt, I started transforming. I took night classes in finance under a fake name. I met with attorneys. I paid hackers. I studied how to make a man lose everything without touching a single thing he could trace back to me. And while he was busy whispering sweet nothings into Kendra's ear, I was recording every word. I remember the night I gave her that necklace. Tiffany, rose gold. Inside the charm, a listening device, Bluetooth-enabled, motion-activated. Cost me $7,000, but the information it fed back? Priceless. She wore it every time they met, every moan, every cruel word about me, every little plan to phase me out and make sure she gets the house once I leave Bianca. All of it, recorded. "You said you'd leave her?" I mimicked his voice for the room. "Once Amelia graduates. That she was a frigid has-been who just clung to your money and made everything about herself." He went pale. You could hear hearts racing. "Does that sound familiar?" I asked, but I wasn't really asking him. I was asking the room, asking, "How long have you been watching me smile while this man twisted the knife behind my back?" Amelia suddenly stood. "Is this true?" she asked Gregory. He opened his mouth, then closed it, then shook his head. "She's making it sound worse than—" "I heard it," I cut in. "So will everyone else. The files are already in your inbox, Amelia." I could see it, the moment it landed for her, that her father wasn't just a cheater, but a liar, a manipulator, a coward. But I wasn't done dragging him. Gregory also opened a private offshore account under a false name. "Gregory Carruthers," I said, emphasizing the alias. "And do you know where that money came from?" He knew what was coming. The company. He was embezzling, slowly, carefully, thinking no one would notice. But I noticed. I traced every dollar, forwarded every bank log to the board of directors. And the board? They were watching this dinner unfold live. Because, oh yes, I had the whole thing streaming, hidden cameras tucked in centerpiece flowers, audio piped to a private Zoom call. You're done, I said simply. As of tonight, his hand slammed the table. You evil. Careful, I said, stepping closer. Don't raise your voice. Or should I play the part where you said maybe the old bat will get into a car accident soon anyway? A pin drop moment. He looked around, expecting someone to defend him. No one moved, and suddenly his voice wasn't loud anymore. It was shaking. What do you want from me? He whispered. The question hit me like perfume. Delicious, satisfying. What did I want? Oh, darling. We're just getting started. Gregory stumbled back into his chair like he'd been shot, one hand gripping the edge of the table, knuckles white. The sweat on his brow betrayed the icy cool exterior he always prided himself on. Around us, murmurs swirled like smoke. The crowd wasn't just shocked, they were transfixed. No one dared move. No one wanted to miss the next blow. I leaned in, my voice soft enough for only him and Amelia to hear. You should sit tight, dear. This is the part where the audience finds out the villain was never in control. He looked at me like he didn't recognize who I was. Maybe he didn't. That was the beauty of underestimation. I had been the invisible scaffolding holding his world together. Now I was the fire burning it down, and the fire was just getting started. You think this is about sex? I said suddenly, louder, turning to the guests. You think I'd go through all this over an affair? Some people looked confused. A few shook their heads. This man didn't just cheat on me. He planned to replace me, to push me out of the company I helped build, to discredit me to the board, to move his little sex puppet into a board seat. My gaze cut through the room like a blade. You want to know how I know? I looked to the back of the room again. Kendra was frozen, red-faced, still clutching her clutch. She knew what was coming, because Kendra here, I gestured, was foolish enough to leave her laptop unlocked in a WeWork. And guess who found the pitch deck titled Post-Bianca Expansion Plan? Several people turned to stare at her. She looked like she might faint. She called me crying the next day, begging me not to leak it. She said it was Gregory's idea, that he told her I was too old to be useful anymore. I smirked. So, naturally, I made copies. Gregory was shaking his head now, mouth open, words dying before they could form. You hacked her? That's illegal. You know what else is illegal, sweetheart? I said sweetly. Wire fraud, tax evasion, corporate espionage. But don't worry, I didn't report you yet. And then I said it. The line that cracked something inside him. I just sent the deck to your investors. He erupted. You bitch! Chairs scraped, a fork clattered to the floor, but I didn't blink. Sit down before you embarrass yourself more, or should I send them the video too? The color drained from his face. That video. It was our ace in the hole. And it wasn't just another grainy bedroom recording. It was shot 2 weeks ago, on a business trip he took to Chicago. He thought he was in a private hotel room with Kendra. He wasn't. I had arranged for the room to be bugged, with high-res, motion-triggered cameras, audio synced, perfect quality. And it wasn't just the two of them in bed. It was the dialogue, the confessions, him mocking our clients, trashing the company's leadership, even laughing about moving all the money out before the audit. And now, the board had it, HR had it, legal had it, and soon the public would too. But before that, before I completely crushed him, I needed to remind everyone in this room who I was. My name, I said, straightening my posture, is Bianca Caldwell. I'm the woman who spent 3 decades building a brand while this man fucked around behind boardroom doors. I sacrificed my career so he could have one. I gave up promotions to raise our daughter. I supported him when he had nothing but ideas and ego. I took a breath, and now I'm taking it all back. A slow clap started, one person, then another and another. Amelia stood up beside me. Her voice wavered, but she was firm. I'm with Mom. That shattered something in Gregory. His mouth opened in protest. Amelia, please. No, she said sharply. You lied to me. You lied to her. You lied to everyone. I'm done. He looked around. No one came to his aid. Even his mother had turned away. And just when he thought it couldn't get worse, I filed for divorce this morning, I said. The papers are waiting on your desk, along with a list of my demands. His eyes narrowed. You'll get half. That's all? You think you can take everything? I stepped closer, whispered it like a lover's threat. I already did. And then, with perfect timing, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, fumbled, checked the screen, and paled. "What is it?" I asked innocently. But I knew. It was the notification that the company's internal portal had revoked his credentials. He'd just been removed from his CEO seat. And his replacement? That announcement would come soon enough. Still, I couldn't resist twisting the knife. "You remember Lex?" I said casually. "Lex Morris? My old college friend from Wharton?" He looked puzzled. "What about him?" "He's the new majority shareholder. I sold him my equity this morning." Gregory's mouth opened, then closed. He screamed. An animal sound. Raw, broken, real. And oh, it felt so damn good. But I wasn't finished yet, because Gregory had no idea what else I knew, what else I had planned, and I wasn't going to tell him. Not yet. Let him sit in the ashes a little longer. Let him wonder, how deep does her revenge go? The screaming didn't stop. Gregory shoved his chair back so hard it toppled. A waiter jumped out of the way as he staggered toward the wall, muttering expletives under his breath, red-faced and panicked like a caged animal. The chaos he'd unleashed had finally come back, multiplied, magnified, and weaponized. I didn't follow him. I didn't need to. He was already falling apart. "Call security," someone murmured in the back. "No," I said calmly, lifting a hand. "Let him go. The real punishment's already in motion." Because what Gregory hadn't yet realized, what no one in that room had grasped, was that tonight was only the prologue. The actual destruction? That would begin tomorrow. But before we get there, let me rewind. 3 months ago, on a cold Wednesday morning, I woke up to silence. No snoring beside me, no sound of the shower running. I reached over, empty sheets. Gregory was in Dallas, allegedly, finalizing a pharmaceutical partnership. He'd taken that trip a dozen times. Always the same hotel, always the same 3-day schedule. But this time, I was done playing dumb. I drove to the airport, bought a same-day ticket, and 3 hours later, I was standing across the street from the Crescent Court Hotel, hidden behind dark glasses and a rental car windshield, watching my husband check in with a woman whose ass should have had its own zip code. She wore stilettos and a tight pencil skirt with a slit that dared gravity to misbehave. Her blouse was sheer, just enough to hint at the lace underneath. She clung to Gregory's arm like a damn Prada purse. I didn't cry. I watched. I took photos, recorded video, and then I followed them. They ordered room service. They laughed. They fucked. And through it all, I stood one floor above them, listening. Because remember that Tiffany necklace? The one I gave her as a welcome gift. The day Gregory brought her to the company Christmas party, introducing her as a promising new hire? She wore it every time they met. I heard everything. "You really think she suspects anything?" Kendra had giggled. "Bianca?" Gregory chuckled. "She's too busy rearranging wine racks and pretending she's still relevant." I felt heat crawl up my spine, not from pain, but fury. "I can't wait for you to finally leave her," Kendra purred. Gregory grunted. "Once Amelia's graduation's done, no point blowing things up before then." So that was it. He'd been waiting to humiliate me on our daughter's biggest day. He wanted optics to control the story, paint me as the bitter, unstable wife who couldn't handle being replaced by someone fresher. Well, congratulations, asshole. You wanted an audience? Now you've got one. Back at the dinner, I turned to Amelia and whispered, "Do you want to leave?" She hesitated, her eyes still glued to her father's retreating figure. Then she nodded. "Yeah, I want to leave with you." We stepped out of the banquet hall as whispers echoed behind us like falling dominoes. Outside, the night was cool. Amelia wrapped her arms around herself. "Mom," she said, "how long have you known?" "Too long," I answered honestly, but I had to wait. She looked at me, brows furrowed. "Why didn't you just leave him before?" And there it was, the question every woman hears when she doesn't walk away the moment she's hurt. I met her eyes. "Because I needed to make sure he never did this to anyone else." She nodded slowly, then asked, "What now?" Ah, that was the beauty of revenge. It doesn't end with one explosion. It ripples. "You know the firm he's been embezzling from?" I asked. "They think I'm just the wife, the shadow behind the brand, but I've already scheduled a meeting with the board tomorrow. By this time next week, Gregory will be under federal investigation." Her mouth parted. "For real?" I smiled. "You'll see it on Bloomberg." She stared at me a moment, then let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "Jesus, Mom." And then she hugged me. tight, fierce. Like she finally saw me not as the passive background character Gregory made me out to be, but as the architect of something unstoppable. But the night wasn't done. Because even though the dinner was over and Gregory had lost his shit in front of everyone, the final nail hadn't been hammered in. Not yet. That came later. I was alone again, back in the house we shared, well, used to share, walking barefoot through the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of wine when my phone buzzed. Block number. I answered anyway. Bianca. Kendra's voice was shaking. He's here. He's losing it. He threw a chair through the window and he's blaming me. He said I leaked the deck. My lips curled. You helped write it, sweetheart. That kind of thing has consequences. She was silent for a beat. You're not going to the press, are you? I don't need to, I said calmly. He's going to hang himself. I just gave him the rope. You don't understand? He said he's going to ruin me. Oh, honey, I said with a small laugh. He already did, just not the way he intended. I hung up. No sympathy left, not even an ounce. Let the mistress scream, let the man beg, let them all burn, because they thought I'd be the one left shattered, ruined, crawling. Instead, they were standing in the middle of a minefield, and I had the detonator. Still, one thing was missing. A twist no one would see coming. A secret I hadn't told even Amelia. Because beneath all the rage, the plans, the precision, I discovered something else. Something he didn't even know yet. And that's what would destroy him for good. The secret was sit in a safe deposit box in downtown Seattle. A nondescript envelope, no label, no markings, just a USB drive and a handwritten letter I never thought I'd need to open. Until 2 weeks ago. It came from Lex. Yes, that Lex, the ex from my Wharton days. The one Gregory never liked. Said he smelled like old money and bad intentions. Well, Gregory wasn't entirely wrong. Lex did have money, and his intentions were rarely pure. But he had one fatal flaw. He always loved me more than I loved him. That made him dangerous and useful. Come work with me, Lex had said 6 months ago, sliding me a card over coffee. No titles, no politics, just revenge and returns. I told him I needed time. He told me to open the envelope when I was ready. And now, I was ready. Because inside that drive was everything. Proof that Gregory hadn't just cheated on me emotionally, physically, and financially. He'd done something worse. He'd stolen IP. Confidential files, patents. Ideas from our joint startup 15 years ago, ideas I created, which he passed off as his own during a massive merger with Genome Pharmaceuticals. A deal that had netted him over $6 million in shares. Shares now under SEC scrutiny, thanks to the very documentation Lex helped me unearth. Why hadn't I used it sooner? Because pain clouds judgment. But now I saw everything with razor precision. This wasn't just about making Gregory lose his job or his dignity. It was about stripping away every illusion he'd built around his false brilliance. It was about showing the world that the empire he stood on had my fingerprints all over it. And the final move? I was about to make it. I arrived at Lex's new headquarters the next morning, wearing a black, fitted blazer, a silk blouse that hugged my chest like a promise, and a pair of heels that clicked like gunfire down the marble hallway. The receptionist, young, bright-eyed, terrified, looked up. "Miss Caldwell?" she asked. "He's expecting you." Of course he was. Lex stood when I entered, still tall, still lean. His silvering temples only made him sexier. He crossed the room in 3 steps and gave me that same devilish smile I remembered from grad school, the one that usually preceded very, very bad decisions. "Well," he said, looking me up and down, "you always were the storm, Bianca." "I'm here to make landfall," I replied. He laughed. "Then let's drown him." The meeting didn't last long. I handed him the USB, the letter, the documentation. Lex handed me a folder, signed contracts. One gave me an executive seat on the board of his newest venture. The other, ownership of 12.5% of Caldwell Strategies. Yes, Gregory's company, the one I helped build, the one he tried to ice me out of. He didn't even know I'd been slowly buying back my shares through proxies. But he was about to find out, and just when he thought it couldn't get worse, I added one more twist. "Let's make it public," I told Lex. "All of it." He raised an eyebrow. "Press release? Something better." I reached into my purse and pulled out the red lace bra. Kendra's. The one I found in our bed the night he forgot she left it under my pillow. Lex blinked. "You're not seriously." I smirked. "It's not just lingerie. It's DNA. and it makes one hell of a thumbnail image. That afternoon, a video went live on a private whistleblower channel. No names, no faces, just the story: a woman betrayed, dismantled, reborn. It ended with a single quote in white font over a black screen: "The most dangerous woman is the one you thought would stay silent." The clip went viral within hours. But I saved the real impact for the next board meeting. Gregory had no idea I was coming. The look on his face when I walked in a fitted navy dress with an open neckline and a subtle chain that dipped between my breasts, delicious. He opened his mouth to object, and then saw Lex sitting beside me. The boardroom went silent. "Gentlemen," I said smoothly, "I believe we have some voting to do." Gregory tried to protest, tried to bluff his way through another 10 minutes of corporate jargon. But the tide had already turned. 3 members flipped instantly. 1 abstained. The 5th? Amelia. Yes, my daughter. I hadn't told her everything, but I told her enough. She looked at me, then at him, then voted yes. And with that, he was removed from his CEO role. On paper, it was just a restructuring, but we all knew what it really was. It was a cleansing. Gregory didn't scream this time. He just sat there blinking, like the world had suddenly rewritten itself and forgot to tell him. I walked up behind his chair, leaned down, let my breath graze the side of his ear. "I told you once," I whispered. "You show people who you really are, and eventually they'll believe you." And then I left the room, not with vengeance in my step, but power. Real, earned, undeniable power. But as I rode the elevator down, I knew the final move hadn't yet been made, because Gregory still had his illusions, still thought he had options, still believed the worst was over. And that was the beauty of a well-orchestrated fall. You don't just push them off the edge, you make them walk themselves there. And he was walking fast. But the cliff, that came next. Gregory was unraveling. By the time the boardroom coup hit the industry blogs, he had already fired off a storm of legal threats, all of which landed in my inbox like wet tissue paper. He was calling in favors, digging up lawyers, even contacting my college friends, trying anything to stop the bleeding. But he didn't understand something fundamental. The bleeding had started years ago. He just hadn't noticed it until now. And I wasn't done yet. The day after his removal, his favorite Bentley was repossessed. Not because I arranged it, but because, in a panic, he defaulted on payments from the Shell LLC we'd once used for discrete expenses. The LLC was now defunct, the bank accounts frozen, and guess whose name was still on the title? Not mine. His mistress Kendra? Gone. She'd ghosted him the night the board meeting video leaked, and let's just say, when the lingerie model turns into a liability, she doesn't stick around for the fallout. But he kept calling her. I knew that because his voicemails got rerouted to me. Another feature of the little gift I'd given her last Christmas, a refurbished iPhone with a mirrored number. Everything he said, I heard. "You stupid girl," he barked into the phone. "You were supposed to support me. We were going to build something." No, Gregory. I built something, and now I was rebuilding it, with you no longer in the blueprints. I sat in my garden one afternoon, the sun warm on my skin, sipping Sauvignon Blanc while listening to a grown man beg a 20-something for emotional rescue. The same man who once told me I was too emotional to lead a team. The irony tasted better than the wine. But revenge. Revenge is never just about one person. It's about all the people they stepped on. So I made calls. Quiet ones. His former assistant, not Kendra, the smart one he fired for attitude, was now promoted to project lead at Lex's firm. The guy Gregory once mocked for stuttering during a pitch, I flew him out to Boston for a surprise panel interview. He crushed it. Now runs West Coast operations. Piece by piece, I rebuilt the world he broke and rewrote the story. But there was still one card I hadn't played, something I'd kept locked away because I wasn't sure it would matter. Until I saw the panic in his eyes that night, right before the board meeting ended. He came up to me in the hallway after everyone had gone. His eyes were bloodshot, hair wild, hands trembling. "You think this will last?" he hissed. "You think anyone will believe you built this?" "I don't need them to believe," I said. "I just need them to see." He lunged forward. "Don't you dare touch my daughter. Don't you dare poison her against me." And that was it. That was the moment I knew. I took a breath, then pulled the envelope from my purse, the one with the DNA results. He frowned. "What's that?" A gift, I said, for Amelia. He yanked it from my hand, tore it open, read 2 lines, and froze. His face turned to stone. You tested me? No, I said, smiling softly. I tested myself. He looked up, eyes wide. Lost, and I delivered the truth like a lover's whisper. You're not her biological father. The silence was brutal. I let it hang there, long enough for the air to freeze, for his ego to splinter, for his foundation to crack beyond repair. You lied? He breathed. No, I just didn't tell you. You never asked. You were too busy sleeping your way through half of Seattle. He took a step back, stunned. She's mine, I said firmly. In every way that counts. I carried her. I raised her. I fought for her future. He swallowed hard. Who? I'm not telling you that, I said calmly, because it doesn't matter. You forfeited the right to call yourself her father the moment you decided your dick was worth more than her trust. He tried to speak, but nothing came out. The man who once gave quarterly keynote speeches in front of thousands could no longer form a single coherent word. But I could. I'm not trying to hurt you, Gregory, I said. I just want you to feel what you made me feel. Helpless, powerless, irrelevant. He collapsed into a nearby chair, the DNA envelope dangling from his hand like a death sentence. And me? I walked away. Not because I didn't care anymore, but because I cared about myself more. That was the final transformation. Not vengeance, not destruction. Freedom. I could breathe again, eat again, sleep without grinding my teeth or checking his location or wondering who he was texting at midnight. And I had Amelia. My sweet, brilliant, fierce daughter who looked at me now not as some tired, sad housewife in her 50s, but as a damn force. You okay? She asked me that night as we watched the fire crackle in the fireplace. I nodded. I am. And then she asked the only question I wasn't quite ready for. Will you ever forgive him? I looked into the flames and said the truth. No. Because forgiveness is something you give to people who made a mistake. Gregory made a choice, and I made mine. 3 weeks later, I found myself standing at the same podium Gregory once used to charm investors, flirt with reporters, and deliver those long-winded speeches about vision, growth, and family legacy. Funny, isn't it? How fast a legacy can rot. This time, the spotlight was on me. The media had already run wild with the leaked clips. While I never showed my face, the CEO's wife who exposed fraud and reclaimed the boardroom had become something of a legend. Anonymous op-eds were written about me. I was praised, I was vilified. But most importantly, I was heard. And now, for the first time in 28 years, I had the mic. Good evening, I said into the rows of cameras. I won't waste your time with corporate platitudes. Tonight isn't about forecasts. It's about reckoning. A few in the audience shifted uncomfortably. Good, they should, I smiled. For decades, we've allowed men to weaponize charm, to use power as a shield for misconduct, to cheat, lie, manipulate, and call it strategy. I paused. But today, we reclaim what they thought we'd never notice. Everything. Somewhere, I imagined Gregory watching from whatever condo he was now renting, slouched on some rental leather couch, whiskey in hand, waiting to see if I'd name him outright. I didn't need to. His silence screamed louder than I ever could. I continued, let this be a warning. The women you dismiss, the wives you underestimate, the assistants you seduce, they're watching, they're learning, and they're building. I left the stage to thunderous applause, the kind you feel in your chest. Afterward, Amelia met me backstage. She was in a deep blue dress that matched her Stanford ring, hair pulled back, proud as hell. You were incredible, she said, hugging me tightly. I meant every word. I know, she whispered. That's what made it dangerous. We walked out into the cool night together. No more hiding, no more secrets. But the finale? That came later. I got the call a week later. Gregory had been arrested, wire fraud, securities manipulation, IP theft. The moment Genovac saw the whistleblower footage, they pulled their legal team off another case and came for his neck. Apparently, even corporate giants draw the line at stealing biotech formulas from your own wife. He cried in court. Actually cried. Broke down in front of the judge, babbling about emotional duress and mental health spirals and being set up. But my favorite moment? When the prosecutor played the Chicago hotel video in full, complete with timestamp confession, intellectual property talk, and him bragging about hiding funds. His lawyer's face looked like a man choking on tax. And when the sentence came down, 7 years, minimum security, I didn't cheer. I didn't even smile. Because the real punishment wasn't prison, it was irrelevance. He would be forgotten. His name scrubbed from letterheads, erased from conference agendas, left out of history books. And mine? Mine would stay. Not because I shouted louder, but because I planned better. He tried to burn down my life with lust and lies. I built an empire from the ashes. I bought a brownstone in Boston. Not too big, not too flashy, but full of light and silence, and the kind of space you learn to crave after decades of being interrupted. Lex visits sometimes. He still flirts. Still offers deals. Still stares a second too long at my bare legs when I wear a dress that clings in all the right places. You know, he said once, swirling his scotch, we'd make a hell of a team. I looked at him over my glass. We already did. He grinned. You're not going to fall for me again, are you? I raised an eyebrow. That depends. On? If you're smart enough not to fuck it up. He choked on his drink. I let the silence tease him. Because that's the thing about power, it changes the flavor of everything. Even flirtation. Especially flirtation. Later that night, after the fire burned low and Lex had gone, I sat on the couch alone, legs curled beneath me, a leather-bound journal in hand. At the very front, I had written one sentence. Never again mistake silence for weakness. And just beneath it, a list of names. Women I'd help next. Not for revenge, but to remind them they still hold the pen. Because I did. And I wrote myself a better ending. One where I wasn't the wife left behind. One where I was the storm.